a lot of people do comparisons between video games and what have you. You know, GameCube, Xbox. The Xbox is considered to be very large, and the Xbox 360 is very high. But of course, the old race sets really took the cake. And those race sets were packed with components. So unlike a game system like the PlayStation 2, like here's the PlayStation 2 right here. You see, you turn it around, it's mostly hollow. Look at the expansion card. It goes all the way through to the front of the system. Now, when you bought these race sets, they were heavy and they were packed with the goodies right here. Just for argument's sake, this whole garbage can is filled up to the top with these things, just on like 4 race systems. So I only had like 4 or 5 race systems, and it's able to fill that up. Plus all of this, just to show you. Now the reason why I got these out is because I'm just showing you. I want you to look at the condition that these items are in. These were stored away in an attic for 30 years. And this stuff is in really excellent condition. Okay, so this stuff was made very well. Sometimes, once in a while, you have to clean the connectors. By the way, the squirrels built a home there too. But anyway, to make a long story short, I just want to show you the condition this stuff is in. Look at that. Here's the starting points. I think that's for TCR, another system. Sorry, it might be 5 systems I have, I'm not sure. No, it's only 4, plus a few little extras from the other one. But anyway, this is slotted. This is a 4-way intersection. That would probably be AFX. Yes, I'm right. That's the connector for AFX. This is the slotted. This one is probably for Tyco. Now, I mean, look at this. This is 30 years old. And if you look at some of them, like here, in this case, I don't know if you can tell, but look how worn out that is, as far as, meaning you can tell that we played it a lot. You can tell that we had cars riding on this thing for probably a few hundred hours. But the metal is still in perfect condition. Okay, so that just shows you what you're looking at. Once again, if you look at these, you can see that they've been played a lot and they maintain excellent condition. I thought that was very interesting. I mean, I was expecting this stuff to be corroded or something, and much to my surprise, it was in perfect shape. You can see the connectors used by TCR. I believe that's TCR. Here's standard stuff that they did. This was Tyco. The slotted was Tyco. Pretty similar to TCR. It's interesting to note that TCR and Tyco use very similar freaking gas pedals. Okay, so one of the things that was interesting about these race sets was they created the illusion that you really were steering it. It's amazing how all it was a throttle, but because you had total control over that throttle and where it was turning, and when it was turning, you could really make it do whatever you want to do. You know, I'll make a comparison. It's similar to driving a motorcycle. You ever notice how when you drive a motorcycle, you can swerve without even moving the steering wheel? You just tilt your body. It's something to that effect. Another thing to point out is that it looks like TCR and AFX might have used the same connectors. I'm not sure. Yeah, they were very similar looking. And then here's This is Tyco. So once again, these are the three main players of the game: AFX, TCR, and Tyco. Now these right here, okay, these right here, this was an innovative idea. I think this was from Aurora. Okay, here we are, Aurora. That would be AFX. Look at this. How about that? They did try to experiment with the steering wheel, so that's very cool. So you can see that the AFX is capable of higher speeds just by feeling it. So, but I didn't like it because it was too challenging, and my brother and my cousin didn't like TCR or Tyco. Now, a couple of things to mention. This was an innovative idea. You had the jam car. You had a third car, and you would set up the track on both levels, and when you got there, you could choose which way you went. Now, we had a very interesting way of playing it. I don't want to bore you with my personal story, but we used to set it up, and one of the tracks would actually go off a cliff. So we would have one of them go off the cliff, and the other would go off. And then if you didn't steer the right way, then your car would go off the cliff. The other thing that we would do is, to make it more challenging, we would actually put a big tunnel there, and when you were going there, you couldn't see where you were steering. So if you tried too hard to steer over this way, you would actually bounce off, and it was very fun. Anyway, the Tyco, there were several race sets made. These are just a few, and obviously don't even talk about train systems that have been around since God knows when. So I'm just trying to give you an idea of comparing video games with all these things, and these were very complex and a lot of fun. It's interesting that slotted, for a while, if you own a slotted system, you were considered poor. Like, it was like a cheap systems that had slots in it. And slotless was considered to be like high tech. Oddly, slotted was just a more challenging game. So if you had slotted, you really had to be careful, or you would go off the slot. But as you can see, the vehicles were basically, it was just as hard to make, a race set slotted as slotless. That's slotted right there. Some of the slotted systems were much simpler. That was one of the more advanced ones. I think coming near the very end, don't quote me on this, but I think that these things were around until about like 1979, and then they started to fade away. If you can see this says Aurora Speed Steer, assembled in Mexico. This is the 15-inch straight piece. Patent pending. Oh, this was made in USA. Okay. Okay, here we are. You can't even read it. I'm sorry. This is 1979. You probably won't be able to read this. Okay. Okay, so that's 1979. Yeah, okay, you might be able to read this. I'm sorry I was not prepared. This is 1979 Aurora products. Okay, so that's AFX just as I predicted. Looks a little bit cooler, a little bit more for an older audience, what would you say? I liked TCR. This is 1977 Ideal. Oh, Hollis, Queens. You ever heard that rap song from Run DMC? It's Christmas time in Hollis, Queens. Okay, so I assume that's what they're talking about. This shows you where you plugged in cars here. Please read the owner's manual. And they said don't use another power pack and don't put more than 3 cars on at the same time. This was also 1977 Ideal. Tyco, see if I'm a liar or not. Patent pending, made in Hong Kong. Okay, they're not giving me the date though. This is a 9.5-inch circle. One of the things that was amazing about these race sets was that when you put them together, they never ended up too short or long. You seem to, because they made the parts so cleverly. They had 5-inch, 9-inch, 12-inch. Okay, here we are. Here's the crossfire system. Okay, here's the crossfire system. This is 1980 ideal. Okay, so they were coming out with a very innovative system. Here's another one. Okay. You can tell when I make these videos, I am not always 100% prepared. Okay? So there's the crossfire. I think this was like a 3-lane system, something to that effect. Don't quote me on this. Okay, here is okay, this is TCR, and I believe I already showed you. This would be 1977. Okay, so I think I gave you all the information you need. So there's some of the steering wheels that came with race sets, okay, in case you're wondering, or maybe you don't give a hell. I don't care. No, I do care. Here's a Tyco thing. I think they're going to give you a thing. One of them is going to tell you, please don't this is 100, okay, let me read this for you. This is 120 volts, 60 hertz, 20 volt. Output is 20 volt, 11 volt. So I think it was pretty powerful, pretty big output. Tyco. Okay, let me see here. Output is 20.8 volt, 6.5 volt. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, I think that means that's a lot of output. That's a lot of power. Let's look at a couple of these other power packs right here. By the way, notice how the power packs sometimes have the same connector as the whatchamacallits, the steering wheels. Okay, here's from Aurora. 23.5 volts. Okay, so Aurora was pretty powerful. Here's another Aurora. Okay, so that gives you some kind of idea as to what the race systems were all about. Right there. See, they came in different parts. You know, they came in, you know, you had the 90-degree ones, but then you also had ones that were larger 90-degree ones. And then you also had only 45-degree ones. Okay, here, this looks like a 45, right? This is a 45. Right, so you see the difference. That's 90, that's 45, if you can tell. You had straightaway ones. Here's what it looks like when you start connecting it. Flows very nicely. These were a little bit more rare. This might have been unique to one race set. And then if you accidentally hit another car, you could do that. You can see that you had guardrails. This was like the main part right there. This was, you know, the start and finish line where the kids hung out. You see the connectors, crossfire. You can see all the different whatchamacallits, the steering wheel things. I mean, it's only 4 o'clock and it's getting very dark. It's driving me nuts. Gives you some kind of idea of what you're looking at. Here's an example. Look at this. This is only a 45. Look at how large. Look how large it is. You set it here. You can see it's tilted a little bit. This is a very large one. So that might be, I don't know. That might be a 90. I'm sorry about that. Let me read it. 12-inch radius. Oh, 1/4 circle. So that is a 90. Okay. It's so large that I'm not. But it shows you that they had different parts, and then this is only probably a 7-incher, right? It was 10 inches. 10 inches. This is a 10-inch straight. So it just goes to show you how these things were made. You can tell that whether it was AFX or TCR, they pretty much did the same thing. Okay, so that's all. Sayonara.